From Senegal to Sugar Hill, trace the bloodline. 100 years of brilliance through the color line. They thought the shackles broke but kept the mental chain. Langston penned the future while they legislated pain. Harlem's ballrooms birthed the cosmos in mahogany, while lynching trees still decorated southern botany. Josephine, Waker's pearls, and Garvey's Navy ships. Du Bois debating destiny with scholarship on his lips. The Renaissance was a renaissance of West resistance, fam. Every trumpet blast from Armstrong was a battering ram. They gave us minstrel shows, we gave them Sora Neal. Turned depression into art, made the fabricator real. Cotton Club excluded us from tables every set. Performed the Deanest Nightly, never free from the deck. But Bessie Smith could shatter glass, shatter cash, shatter lies. Every note she sang contained a revolution in the sky. Build temples from the rubble, make cathedrals from the scrubble. Turn the margins to the center, now they study what we scribble. We build temples from the rubble, every generation double the inheritance of genius that they tried to keep us from. Fast forward through the decades, watch the pattern reassemble. Malcolm's speeches, Martin's marches, every voice begins to tremble to the earth until the structure shows its fractures. FBI was tracking every coon with every pastor, every actor. 40 acres never came but 40 minutes on a stage to reconvene your consciousness and channelize the rage. From bebop to hip-hop, the fool lines mathematical. Each generation weaponized the beautiful, the radical. They gave us Reagan out as crack and mass incarceration. We gave them Public Enemy and blueprints for liberation. The Harlem Renaissance never ended, just evolved its form. Every freestyle cipher is a brainstorm, is a storm. Where the children of the talented, the tenth that the boys prophesied, inherit the fire that the water couldn't wash aside. They tried to write us out the narrative. We offered all on text, 100 years of proof, and that we're destined. Where was next? Temples from the rubble, made cathedrals from the struggle. Turned the largest to the center, now they study what we scribble. We built temples from the rubble, every generation double the inheritance of genius that they tried to keep us from.
All right, everybody, this is and you are Under the Groove. Welcome to Under the Groove Podcast. Let's say an enjoyable Wednesday has been within everybody's reach, man. Here I am and there you are. Let's get it in. Yeah, you know, it's kind of hot as hell today, man. I almost said, hey, man, I need to rest. Got up, you know, took care of my business, did what I did, you know, got home in the yard, man. It's hot as hell. Was sweated about a bucket of water. I said, all right, man, I don't know, man. I don't know. But I know because here I am. All right, it's good to be here. Like I said, man, it's fortunate. We are fortunate, man, to be in whatever space we're in at this time and moment, man. So take it not for granted, but taking it into perspective. That being said, listen, a lot going on. That's every day, though, you know, every day, black people know it's a whole lot of going on every day. You know, fact of the matter is, though, it's going on and we are in this, what they say, the mix. We're in the mix, man. We're in the mix. Got some shit I'm going to do today, man. A couple of, you know, just some, you know, nothing too, you know, out there. Ain't going to get too volatile and, you know, talk gangers crap or nothing like that. You know, we're going to chop it up on some real shit. Resilience, excuse me, is what's been stuck in my head all day, man. Just tripping on how the people are, you know, when it comes to whatever it is we're dealing with, you know, even when it seems just, you know, overbearing, you know, too much, stressful, you know, we still find ourselves being resilient. You know, we fight through, That's what we do. So in that respect, I want to drop a couple of things, man, just talking about that. Maybe some, you know, sideline shit, you know, Trump just started the war again. You know, I expected that. I said it on my other channel, knew that was coming. All this shit he was talking about, ceasefires and all that was all cap. You know, enough time for them, all sides, you know, to rearm and, you know, try to figure out a different game plan to defeat, you know, the enemy. You know what I mean? And I'm not speaking for the United States in terms of the enemy being Iran. Now, I'll never do that. But yeah, that's what took place yesterday, and it's on and cracking right now. So they're both, you know, shooting volleys back and forth at each other. You know, I think that's just a pile of shit he done stepped in. And no matter what he do, he can take the water hose to it, you know, get in the grass, try to wipe it off. If it's going to stick, it's going to stink. He ain't getting away from that one. You know, be that as it may, that's what it is. All right, good to be here. Like I said, man, and y'all come on in here and let's do what we do. Got a couple of things. I wanted to talk about something specific, you know, when it comes to, you know, us, black folks. Black Americans doing their thing. I wanted to tap in on or touch on the fact that, the thing is this, man. If they can have us or distract us from our focus, that's what they're going to do. You know what I mean? That's what they're going to do. So let's say, for instance, if you have economic issues and then you have social issues, which ones do you think play out the most, or the ones we focus on the most? I know a lot of us are going to say financial issues. Is that really true? Is that really true? I think for the most part, a lot of what goes on in society, man, we're so stuck on that shit that we tend to forget, or we don't utilize our time correctly because we're stuck on social shit. You know what I mean? If it were the other way, if it was economic issues that we were focused on and concerned with all day, every day, a lot of what we see taking place or going on in society, social media, any of those things wouldn't matter. They wouldn't have any substance, there would not be a base that we would go and stand on and be stuck in that shit. So I'm saying they do things for a reason. A lot of shit, we say this all the time on this channel. There are all kind of distractions thrown at us to keep us from focusing on the focus. And I think social issues are one of those things. And social issue could be what we see taking place with all these other demographics in terms of racism. Those are social issues. You know what I mean? And they are coming out of the woodwork at us. And I think that I think we need to be mindful of that fact. Don't get too caught up in these social issues, because again, this is nothing new to us. It's nothing new to us. Be they Asian, Mexican, Indian, Ashkenazi, Zionist Ashkenazi, Jewish, white, it doesn't matter, man. We are already aware of those issues. You know what I mean? So I say that to say, be careful in terms of how we spend our mental focus, how we utilize, how we use it. You know what I mean? Don't get caught up in this stuff. We know we got to do what we got to do. That's all it is to it. And part of that doing what we have to do is actually based upon our economics. That's really, if you cut to the chase, man, that's what it's really all about. That's really what it's all about, economics, sad to say, but that's the truth. So yeah, this thing, if they can have us focus on social issues that drain our energy, man, trust and know they will do everything in their power to have us focus our energy on that, in such a way that you didn't focus on so much that, a real issue come up, you be depleted. Your energy is drained because you didn't pay all your attention or gave all your attention to that issue. So you're not giving the same energy to, let's say, economic issues, because if we were, that'd be all day long. That'll be all day long. And that's not the case. So, let's be mindful of that. That's all I'm saying. Let's be mindful of that. Let's focus and start to deal with those economic issues and concerns we have that affect us, every day of the week, the month, and the year. That's where our concern should be. Not, the such and such race tripping down too. Hey, yeah, man, come on, man. It ain't nothing new. It ain't nothing new. And this is why I say quite often enough, hey, man, they're going to do what they're going to do. Let's not pay no attention to that. That's a distraction. That's a distraction. And that thing is going. That throttle is all the way up, man. Could be, boom, we own that. We already know what the code is. All right. Then let's stick to code and forget all the rhetoric, the talk. Because again, that's the distraction to keep us from actually getting the job done. We know what the job is. We've always known. And, in that, we've always known that those who are in power are going to do whatever they can to stop us from reaching our goal. Our goal, man, is independence, financial independence, because that's the doorway to everything we seek for ourselves, not social issues. Social issues have been what they are, let's keep it 100, but that thing that matters most to us is being able to be independent and not dependent on no one, to having our own. That's it, so we need not get wrapped up in social issues. Again, yeah, be aware, but don't waste your time on that shit. You know what I'm saying? Don't waste too much time on these social issues that are generated, that are man-made, that are there intentionally to distract us. All right, that's all I'm saying. Don't get wrapped up in social issues, you guys. More than you would say get caught up and wrapped up in your economic issues and concerns. That should be first, and this is why, like I said, we say this on this channel: focus on the focus. Pay no attention to what's being said by other people about us. They're going to continue to say that. Even when we get this thing to grooving like we want to, moving like it's supposed to, rolling hard, they still going to do that. So let's not worry about it. Let's not worry about it. That's my advice. That's my advice. Because I'm gonna tell you, what a lot of us don't realize is the fact that Black resilience, that's our value, man. And it's undeniable. We can't deny that. Part of our value, you know what I mean? Our resilience, man, to always keep pushing, to keep going, to bounce back up when they thought that they knocked us down, man. That's our commodity right now. That's what props us up and keep us, mobile and pushing, our resilience. And so based on that, I just want to, tap in on that a little bit. Got a few clips for you. Let's get in this thing like we supposed to, man. Let's get into this thing like we supposed to. One more thing in terms of these distractions, these social issues that be coming at us, trying to keep us from focusing. I'm gonna tell you something, man, and most of y'all know this. That's the last thing any of them want to see us do or accomplish, is to maintain a focus that's directed specifically on our independence, on our economic independence, on our wealth transfer, on our generational wealth, all that shit that matters. None of them want that, because listen, man, they lose when we focus on that. They lose when we focus on that. Them shops will close down, businesses will go out of business, and when we look up and they look up at the same time, they'll see where that money's going, where it's supposed to, and that's how we create our independence, man. Focusing on those economic issues that matter, man, and also now, aside from that, I think beneath that, and maybe it depends on how we look at it, is perspective. We've got to start getting at our young brothers and sisters. We got to start getting at our people, man, and say, hey, man, this some bull crap. Get in line, man. Toe to Q. Toe to Q. This what we own. This is what we own. And not like go spend that shit type shit. You know what I mean? If you're going to be in that life, that game, man, where you scam doing what you do, don't spend that shit, man. Hoard it. Collect it. Allow it to grow. And then invest it. Don't give it to Louis. Don't give it to Mercedes. Don't give it to the jewelers. Don't give it to Jordan and Nike. Give it to yourselves. And you do that by investing it. Take them 10 racks, 20, 30, whatever it is, man, and invest it. Legitimize your get out. You feel me? Real spit, man. That's the way that's supposed to go. And this is what we're supposed to be telling these young brothers and sisters. Damn, spend that shit. No, man, don't spend it. and especially with other people. Them, All right, enough said on that, man. Enough said on that. All right, let me jump into these comments right quick. And like I said, I'm gonna start these clips I got. Look, man. I don't know if Rakufu said this in the last week or not, but I'm gonna say the word for the day also is resilience. All right. That's what we possess. And we got that in an abundance, and this is what has kept us going. We got to recognize that fact. All right. So that being said, man, let's jump up in here, man. All right. I see you, Devin Butchie. Front and center, man. First. He first. Say, Brother Bub, peace. Brother Bub, peace. All right. Or excuse me, peace, Brother Bub. My bad. Right back to you, Devin Butch. Appreciate you up in here, bro. All right, Frank Nitty been hanging out quite often. That's a good look. Salute right back to you, loved one. You already know what to do. You know, ain't no bullshitting about that right there. You know, we salute warriors and soldiers, man. That's what we do. We respect them and we support them. We assist them straight up. You know. All right, I see you up in there, Lisa Moore. How's the queen today? All right, how's the sister? Peace and prosperity to you and the family. May everything be everything. You know what I mean? Stay on that. She said, Grand Rising, Brother Bub, blessings to you and the family. Peace and love to the kings and queens in the RGCB1 represents and or equals black first, y'all. If it ain't about black, man, if the shit they talking about, man, don't support what we own, what we about, what we're trying to accomplish, ignore that shit. Ignore that shit because, like I said, man, that's nothing new. None of this shit is new. It's just the fact that, okay, we all, you know, like, you know, but hey, man, that's going to be what it is. That's going to be what it is. We're not worried about that. We'll deal with it, but we're not going to put all our focus on that, y'all. That's what they want. All right. Appreciate you up in here, though. Lisa Moore, appreciate your presence, sister. All right, Hoover Snipe, what to do, loved one? I see you front and center. Facts, independent. Independent. See, here's the thing. I don't really know. Well, you know what? Let me be quite frank. When the 4th of July just passed, those who know a certain community collective represent that day specifically for sevenfold, you know, Hoover Day. You know what I mean? And those who really know how to represent and celebrate it, it's done to remember or pay, you know, homage to those who are no longer here with us. You know what I mean? Those who, you know, represented how they represented, you know what I mean? A lot of good loved ones, you know what I mean, are gone. So, you know, when we gather, at least when we gather, we should, when we gather, remember everybody who has not made it up to this point. And I don't mean just sevenfolds. That's just period, man. Just remember, you know, our people, man. But I know for a fact, most of us don't play that Independence Day shit, you know, that, you know, well, we won our independence from the Brits. Motherfucker, when did that happen for any of us? You know what I mean? So I don't, again, hold on, let me be frank. We got some of our people who actually believe that shit. All right. So can't knock them. You know, you can't free a slave if they don't think they're a slave. You know what I'm saying? So there that is, man. But for the majority of us, we know better than, you know, anybody. That's a bunch of crap. Independence Day. And in fact, we're not the only ones who have not actually gotten independence from this corporation. You know what I mean? Everybody in it ain't got a lick of independence or not free. That's a fact. You know, we tend to just put it out there more. You know, we know what goddamn freedom is, and we know we ain't got it. Now, for the rest of them, if they want to believe, if they want to trust that 4th of July represents their independence, that they're free, hey, man, let them have at it. We know what the business is. That's what we should stick to, what we know the business is. You know, that's all I got to say on that, man. But appreciate you up in there, Hoover Snipe. All love, homie. Ooh-wah. Queen and Zinga 7-4 say happy hump day, kings and queens in the RGC. We've made it to the middle of the week, and that's something to celebrate. Keep pushing forward, stay focused, and the weekend is getting closer. All right. Appreciate you dropping in and dropping that comment, Queen and Zinga. Thank you for that. Rakufu said, man, word for today is reconduction. Reconduction. He goes on to say in civil law and jurisdictions influence in civil law and jurisdictions influenced by it, such as Louisiana or Roman Dutch law. Reconduction is the legal renewal or continuation of a contract, most commonly a lease. Reconduction is either a contract or, you know, legally wait, let me make sure I say this right. Reconduction is the legal renewal or continuation of a contract, most commonly a lease, implied by the silence or conduct of the parties after the original term has expired. All right. By remaining in possession of the estate and continue to pay rent without objection, the tenant established a tacit reconduction. All right. Appreciate you, bro, always. Etymologist right there. That's our wordsmith guy. All right. So thereby, hold on. Let me read it again. By remaining in possession of the estate and continuing to pay rent without objection, the tenant established a tacit reconduction, thereby extending the original contractual obligations into the new term under the exact same conditions. You know, didn't have to go re-sign it, nothing. Hey, man, that contract, it just continues to flow. You know what I mean? Nothing changed. You know, we already had that contract. No need to make a new one. You know, so it's the reconduction of the original. You know, just, hey, keep it flowing. Appreciate you, Ra. All right, Antonio, what it do, love one? Love and a salute. Right back to you, bro. Appreciate seeing you up in here. Appreciate you seeing up in here. Rakufu say, Bub, I met Treyway 7, the set rapper, today at an African restaurant. Smart young one. Yeah, man. And when I was talking about that the other day about the young ones, he was one of the individuals. I sat and chopped it up with him about some real shit. You know what I mean? Like, hey, basically, man, let's save your life, homie. You know, let's save your life, homie. I think you're worth it. You know, and yeah, you ain't no dummy. You know, these brothers could be so much more intelligent than what we know and what they know. You know what I mean? Sometimes, though, it takes that individuals like yourself or just strangers, you know, in the day, man, when we see our young brothers, give them a greeting, man, that lets them know, that allows them to see and hear, you know, respect, you know, recognition. We see you, you know what I mean? Just, you know, hey, how you doing, young brother? You know, boom, boom, boom. And they'll probably hit one of us with, hey, all right, what's up, OG? You know, keep pushing, you know. But that's a thought, and then he spoke to me, you know. This is what we need to be doing. So, yeah, man, that's a good look that you running into that young brother. And I'm not even going to doubt the fact that you dropped some gems in his hand. He walked away with something valuable. You know what I mean? With some wealth he can add to that chest he already, you know, is trying to fill with, you know, wealth that's going to get him not just, you know, through life, man, but just, you know, going to get him to the point where manhood becomes something he really understands, you know, in terms of, okay, what wealth really means, you know what I mean? And how it's transitioned, passed on to others, you know. So that's a good look, bro. Appreciate that. Fat Rat, what it do, loved one? Say peace to you and RGC, Big Bug. Right back to you, man. You, your fam, and the Playboys, man. All love and respect, homie. Good to see you up in here hanging out. Ross said, man, if it ain't black, it's whack. In fact, without black, first existence would be worse. Indeed, it would be cursed. Yeah. Hey, you into that poetry, though, huh? He said, if it ain't black, it's whack. In fact, without black, first existence would be worst. Indeed, it would be cursed. All right, man. Appreciate that. All right. B60M in the house, y'all. Greetings, salutations to you, Bub and RGC. B1 black first, everybody. Real spit. Rakufu said, man, when independence came into this country, we blacks was enslaved. Facts. So how does that serve? Or how does that even pertain to us? You know what I mean? It don't. And see, this is another example of how we've been hoodwinked, led astray, bamboozled, you know, shit like that, you know. We all know damn well, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. 1776, we were slaves up in this witch, man. You know, our ancestors were, some of them, you know. Great point, bro. All right, Snipe say, man, my age today, man. My age today, 4307041983. All right, got you. I hear you loud and clear. Man, I see the numbers. Damn. All right, bro. And a matter of fact, happy belated birthday, by the way. Happy belated birthday, by the way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that ain't nothing to sneeze at, the faux trade. That ain't nothing to sneeze at, bro. Think about, well, I know you do. A lot of us, man, a lot of us, a lot of ours and from all over didn't get there. So ain't nothing to sneeze at, bro. Fat Rat says, the founder of NOI chose 7/4/1930 to reveal himself. While America celebrated its independence, he set it in order to establish ours, the most powerful event in history. Just for your information, let me read that again. Kind of chopped it up. Now, I didn't mean to. The founder of the NOI chose 7/4/1930, July 4th, 1930, to reveal himself. While America celebrated its independence, he set it in order to establish ours, the most powerful event in history. Just for your information. So, in other words, man, he, discerned that day, July 4th, 1930, would be the day of independence for Black people. He would bring in something, to the table to free them, mental shackles, physical shackles, spiritual, whatever, fine, whatever. He brought it to the table. All right. July 4th, 1930, and that's why Brother Fat Rat say, man, that was a powerful event in history, because he was an individual saying, hey, man, here's our freedom this day and time. Got no problem with that. Rakufu said, man, unity in the community is our best opportunity. Ain't no getting around that. And again, so let me drop something right quick. So August 10th, and that's a day before my birthday, I'm committed to an event that I'm going to help host. I'm going to be one of the hosts in this event. Let me get the proper information out to everybody. That way, should any of you decide you want to drop by and see what, the hoopla is about, what the conversation is all about, by all means, show up, show up. That would be a good look. And not only that, oh shit, where'd it go? Not only that, but there are also, I'm gonna be making some phone calls to a few brothers that I know, that came up in, to invite them to come and be a part of this get down, man. It's very important. It's, again, this is us making moves. You know what I mean? This is us tapping in with our community, the youth in it, especially, not just the youth, but even the younger ones. You know what I mean? We're trying to get in position to where we start being or having some type of presence in their lives, man. So I'm all for that. I'm all for it. Initially, I was like, oh man, I don't know about all, and I said, no, wait a minute, let's see. It ain't gonna kill me. It ain't gonna kill me. Okay, where the damn thing at? And then I know I got it. Oh my God. That's all Juneteenth. Okay, I'll get the information, man. Damn. Okay, I'll get the information because I have a flyer actually. I'll put it up. I'll put it in the community chat as well. Oh, here, this might be it. No. What the fuck? That was not it. All right, I'm gonna have to get at my wife and see if she has that flyer. Sister Denise, if you got that, if you're listening, Soldier Denise, send me that again because I don't know where the hell it went. Could that be an email? Hold on. Sorry about this, you guys. I wanted to share this with you guys. I think it's relevant, It's relevant. So it's share worthy, you know. And again, no, that's not it. And again, I'm gonna make some calls to some individuals, brothers. I'm not just cool with, straight with my brothers, you know what I mean, from somewhere everywhere. See if we can't get some of them to participate in this function. You know, that would be a good look, you know. All right, I don't know what the hell going on. I can't. Oh, I think I just figured it out. Maybe it's this one. All right, so I'm just all off base right now, and that's okay. I'll get to it. So anyway, that is. Matter of fact, let me text her while we talking, and in that way, she'll send it right over, and I can read it to you. Boom. All right, so all right, done. All right. So let's see. She get back to me. I'm gonna put that up right quick. Let you guys get a bar of it. Anyway, yeah. Uh-oh. All right, there we go. Yeah. So that's an event coming up on the 10th of August, you know. So that's a little time for me to work, you know, work the crowd, so to speak, and you know, link up with certain brothers, Crips, Bloods, whatever, you know, black men who got something to say or who don't mind being present at this event, you know. And again, it serves the community, but it serves the youngest in the community. So that's, no matter how you look at, that's a good look, you know. And if there's time that you brothers can um spare or spend in terms of, you know, hanging out with us on that day, would be greatly appreciated. All right. Give me time. I should get that info in a hot second. All right. So yeah, man. Rakufu say unity in the community is our best opportunity. No lies there. Snipe say, but okay, my birthday, my age day, 43/07/04/1983. I came out independent, but that date was chosen for so-called Independence Day. It's actually one of their holidays already, because the day was actually July the 2nd when they signed it, but dated it on July the 4th. Misprint. Appreciate that. And that's, have I heard that before? I can't recall if I heard that or not before. It sounds familiar, but I can't say whether or not I heard that before. In any respect, appreciate you for dropping that info. What's happening with it, Chris? He said there's a new movie out called Young Washington. Have you heard? It's about the early life of George Washington. You say, Chris say, I saw the trailer and his mother mentioned to him as a kid something about owning black people like property. I saw flabbergasted. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you off the rip, man. I wouldn't watch that shit anyway. I'm gonna tell you, that just type cat I am. You know, man. Look, fact of the matter is, man, when they decided to do what they did, man, the reality is there was already a government here. You know what I mean? And that government consisted of a lot of black men who are in Congress. You know, and that type of thing. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. It's something missing out of the history books in terms of how did that one usurp this one. And well, I understand how the blacks were ostracized, you know, and ousted from, you know, the political arena. I've read on that, you know, quite a bit, you know. And even back then, a lot of our brothers back then were married to white women, And that was really the crux of the issue for a lot of them white guys. They didn't like that shit, you know. But how that came to be, the George Washington government that transitioned from the Continental Congress all the way to what they end up establishing, man, I don't know. But I know they went into that thing knowing and understanding real well what they were intending to do. And especially when it came to us. Again, this is a infant nation, you know, in their eyes, you know, a baby, you know, and they devised that plan or their plan to enslave, you know, us so that we could give them free labor and, you know, make this country worth noting, you know, or notable, you know what I mean? And we did exactly that. This country is rich because of us. You know, it is its hegemony, you can say, has a lot to do with us. Without us, they would not be the superpower in the world that they claim to be. You know what I mean? Just facts, man. Just facts, man. You know, again, they got a lot of free labor off of us. And as a result, this country got rich damn near overnight. Super rich. Damn near overnight. And just so we know, slavery was not the only industry they had going. They got into weapons making. And to this day, that's what they still do that. You know what I mean? They got corporations now, but, you know, trust and know, they're linked or aligned with the government. But, you know, they were selling weapons, you know, back then when they got this thing established. They started, you know, producing weapons and shit, you know, and started selling them, you know. So that's their other get out. A lot of people don't know that. You know, they make a lot of money making weapons of war. It's what they do. You know what I mean? And so it's only, you know, right if you look at it, that if you understand the perspective, what Donald Trump is doing, Joe Biden wanted to do, even Barack wanted to do, but, you know, I guess there was a time and place for everything. It just happened to be on his watch that, you know, we see this war taking place. We see wars, you know, and even if the United States is not involved directly in a war, there are proxy wars. There's such a thing as a proxy war. You know, when we see conflicts, you know, and wars in Africa, especially, the United States got a hand in that. Europe has a hand in that. You see the Ukraine and Russia, that's all they're doing. That's CIA, actually, you know. So that's one of their ways. I think weapons manufacturing and selling is one of their most lucrative businesses. Put it like that. All right, one of their most lucrative businesses. They build the jets, they build the cannons, the bombs, the missiles, the guns, you know, and hey, they sell that shit. And trust and know, then every country on the face of the planet got some American military grade weapons, you know, weapons of war. They got that shit. All of them, you know, so hey, there they go. All right, man, our sister's in the house, man. Kimberly Mitchell. How you doing, sis? Again, our condolences. And I would like to think that you're better. You're dealing with it, all right? You're dealing with it. Been there. I know where you are in the, you know, in this circumstance, you know. So again, just we send our condolences to you, sister. All right. We send our condolences to you. You're resilient though, you know, and keep on keeping on. I actually, you know, me and the wife, you know, spoke about you last night, you know. So, you know, it's just a pleasure to know that you're okay. You're in here, you drop by, you know, to say hey. All right. We love you. Kimberly Mitchell said, man, Hoover, hey, real ones, I got to get in here and say hello and love y'all. Earlier today was hard. I had to fix my sister hair, dress her. So, shit. The hardest day for me, but I'm with y'all now, fam. Yeah, we with you. You know. Yeah, it made me think about my mom. So when she passed away, my oldest brother, he found her, and I know to this, it still fucks with him. I know this for a fact, but every time, I see him when we talk about it, my first thought is that couldn't have been me, I snapped, So just you saying you had to fix her hair and everything, I can't even imagine that, Honestly, don't want to, I couldn't, it wasn't meant for me to find my mother deceased, and I'm grateful for that, but I get it, doing the last gracious thing for your sister when you send her on, on her journey, still beautiful, man. Yeah. We with you though. We love you. All right. Again, we send our love and respect to your family. All right. Real spit. Fat Rat said, Kimberly, prayers in that you are comforted and granted solace through this transition. Man. Yeah. Yeah, Chris. No doubt, man. To this day, they tend to try to act like they don't, but yeah, we are. I was saying earlier, man, when we talk about people here, inside this corporation, man, workers, even they are that, property, no one wants to really acknowledge that, and I think that's, that's an issue also. No one wants to, face the fact that everyone here is just that, is that exactly, because everything you do, even when we tend to put what we're doing in our lives, to make our lives better in the equation, the fact of the matter is everything we do in our lives in the initial, we work for them. We can say we work for ourselves. Yeah, because on the back end, they'll give us what they think we earned. You know what I mean? Now, initially, before we get what they think we earned, they take theirs off the top. They don't check with you or nothing. You know what I mean? They'll let you know what the tax code is and how much you're getting, but they taking that whether you agree or not. Only somebody in control, only a master could have the ability or think to have that type of power to do such a thing, to have it rigged to where you go to this job and you work your butt off at this job to get money to take care of yourself, your family, and all those issues you may have. Yet, you have some people you've never met, you'll never see for the most part, who will get hold of your money before you ever see it or touch it and take what they want from it and then give you what's left. And they do this every pay cycle. Not only that, they come behind that, and every year they say, we want some more, we want more, that to me, that's slavery, man, And again, for each and every individual who's here, I don't care what, what demographic or ethnicity they are, you are, or they are, we are all slaves to this system. Period, point blank. Period, point blank. We are property. And they utilize us to their advantage. It's a trip how the school issue, how they teach us not to be entrepreneurs, not to know certain things, you know what I mean? But how to answer, how to, how to be workers, how to answer and deal with a boss, not how to answer to yourself and be the boss. School is there for that and that alone. It trains you to be prepared to go into the work market or, into the workforce and work for those who are in control. That's slavery. I don't care what nobody say. We belong to other people, man. And it goes to show social security cards is another. Birth certificates is another. That's ownership. Those are ownership papers and documents, credentials. You know what I mean? Chris said, man, I think they still see us as property. No doubt, bro. No doubt. Yeah, all love, Kimberly. All love. B60 said, man, condolences to you and your family, Kimberly Mitchell. All right, Uwe Snipe say, man, everybody is not just us. Everybody is not just us. Facts. But, because the picture's been painted that we were really the only ones. No one else will believe in this day and age that they are. It's like a lot of other things they're coming into the know of, or they're just now starting to understand about Black people. They're like, I didn't know that. And so because they didn't know it earlier on, they're still in denial. You know what I mean? You can't tell a lot of, YT people and others that, man, we built this country. Not only that, but, the infrastructure have a lot to do with us. The things that make lives run or go smoothly every day come from us. That's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of them. That's a hard pill to swallow. That, hey, it ain't just us, really. I think though a lot are starting to see the light, at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. But it's still difficult for them, you're seeing it, you're hearing it more and more. Like I was saying the other day about these other demographics, they're starting to see some shit like, oh shit, that's really how it is, And there are a lot, just like there are a lot of us who see it and be like, what the hell? So what? Hey, just give me my check, let me do what I'm gonna do, and I don't care about nothing. Then I'm gonna die one day. That type of mindset mentality all the time, every day. Chris said, yes, we're seen as livestock. Beast of burden. All right, Fat Rat, appreciate this, man. He said, Kimberly, pain becomes purpose, sis. The heavy trials are reserved for the best soldiers. All right. Pain becomes purpose, sis. The heavy trials are reserved for the best soldiers. That reminds me what they say, most Christians, they say that their God don't give them any more than they can handle, and it's just enough. You know what I mean? It's just enough. So I think, or I take from that, just enough, to make you stronger. That's some, I don't know. The heavy trials are reserved for the best soldiers, man. Uwe Snipes said, man, they have us under wage slavery in America. It's online. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. My brother-in-law was telling me, man, last week, the young brothers that had killed the rapper dude, them 4 young brothers, right? One of them was well off, at least his family was, right? Really had no need to be in that lifestyle doing that type of shit, right? But anyway, again, his family were well off, are well off. Anyway, so he goes before the judge to get sentenced. And I'm paraphrasing here. I think it was the prosecutor or somebody, and the judge having a conversation in front of him, saying, was speaking in terms of his youth. He'll be in prison for the rest of his life. And I think the DA made a statement that went something like, well, yeah, basically that's a lot of times, a lot of equitable sweat. You get it? So in other words, yeah, you finna go work, whatever state you got, make me think they got prison plantations where a lot of them brothers or wherever they are working the fields. You know, so in other words, we're going to be able to utilize him. He'll be slaving for us for the rest of his life. He's a young man at that, you know, Equitable Sweat. I'm like, damn, they said that shit. I went and found the video and I couldn't believe it. Oh, he's a young guy. So there's a lot of equitable sweat we can get out of him, is what he said. I was shocked. So, you know, if his mindset was before he did all this and got sentenced to life without, was that he was never a slave, they're going to hurry up and, you know, he's not going to have that thought for very much longer. You know what I mean? You know, and that was maybe a month or so ago. So, you know, he probably, you know, just gotten in out of the shower, ate dinner, laid down exhausted from working them fields, sweating all day. Crazy, man. Equitable Sweat. Yeah. Henry Stella's in the house, man. Peace and prosperity to you, bro. Good to see you. You say, hey, man, shout out to everyone here tonight. Greetings and blessings, Brother Bub and family. Likewise, right back to you. Peace and prosperity, bro. Good to see you. Farrah say, bro, Bub, excuse me, Bub, my POV is a weapon on this enemy. The word slavery has very little to do with what they did and continue to do to us. Human atrocity is more befitting. Human atrocity. Yeah, because well, I don't know. I still want to, I don't want to relinquish, let go, you know, this term slave, because in a lot of respects, we still are. I get it. Not like it was back in the day. I get that. But also, I get what you're saying in terms of human atrocity, you know, in terms of what they do, you know, and how they do it to us, you know. Yeah, the shit they do is atrocious. You know, it's immoral. You know what I mean? A lot of what they do. In fact, how they think, actually, you know, that's where we can get that atrocity from, that atrocious behavior from. But when we talk about human atrocity, the shit that they've done and they continue to do, all right. Human atrocity is more befitting. We are the human atrocity. We are the human atrocity, not the slave. And or, you know, and or. Frank Nitty said, man, facts. Work for somebody else and tax you before you get it is slavery. Sweat equity. Sweat, that's the equity sweat. You sweat equity. They say, we get a lot of sweat equity out of this young guy. And you say young man and nothing like that. In other words, we got us a slave. And in fact, I think they went on to say that's what's happening with most of them who come in there. They utilize them for that purpose, you know. That's some cold shit. Who sniped, man, said, man, yeah, I seen and heard the judge say the same thing. And they're out and open with it now, you know. I always thought that they were out and open with it. You know, they you know, just their behavior. You can go way back, man, you know, as far as, you know, films go and pictures, you know, they had that attitude, that demeanor where they didn't wear kid gloves when they spoke to us, how they saw us or how they dealt with us. You know what I mean? I think in this day and age is different. It's a little more subtle, you know. You know, the death of brothers and sisters is a lot more subtle. It ain't just so blatant anymore, especially, you know, well, the police is a different thing, but, you know, even politicians participated in that shit, you know. So politicians, they have to be careful. They're a little more subtle with their racism or that white supremacist mentality, you know, or that behavior or mindset when it comes to black men and women. You know, they have to hold their tongues now, but it's still alive and well in them. So, hey, this shit is out there, man. Let me jump up in here, y'all. Time is a ticking. Hear this thing. I saw this today and I felt like, again, we're talking about being resilient. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Being resilient, man. All right, let me drop this first one. And this guy here, I like his, I like his jib, man. He be on some good shit. I'm gonna hit him with this. I'm gonna hit y'all with this one first.
The headline of Greenwood, the headline of Black Wall Street should not be the burning. If you don't know, Black Wall Street, just 56 years after the abolition of chattel slavery, with no inherited capital, no political power, no international support, and operating completely inside of a very hostile host so-called civilization at the peak of its flagrant racist hubris. SubhanAllah, Black Americans built a fully functional, fully autonomous economic district in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Banks, hotels, theaters, doctors' offices, law firms, newspapers, schools, a community where the dollar circulated in that community at least 36 times before leaving that community. Generational wealth was being assembled in real time, in one generation from nothing. That's what Greenwood was. That's what Black Wall Street was. The headline of Greenwood, the headline of Black Wall Street should not be the burning. The headline of Greenwood should be the building. You understand me? The white power structure burned it down because they couldn't tolerate it. Why? Because it was working. The burning is the proof that what your great-grandparents had built was working, was successful, and that the white power structure couldn't do anything about it but attack it, but tear it down. But that's their failure, not your failure. In that story, there's nothing but success from the African-American side. The headline of Greenwood, the headline of Black Wall Street.
All right. Real spit, man. I wanted to jump in there so bad, right? And say, hey, man. And this is why we say it often enough here. We ain't got no business paying no attention or paying any mind to anybody who want to be racist towards us. You know what I mean? Again, our focus is supposed to be on building. That's it. Our focus should be on building and coming together so that we can build together. That's it. That's where our focus need to be. We talked about how they thought they were doing something slick with segregation and how segregation had proved to be best thing for us. And this is why you will not see segregation implemented again against us, not in this country. Not in this country. In fact, I don't think in any country. It may exist somewhere, but it won't be here. That was a hard lesson they learned. They will never forget that lesson. So we can hear all the cap we want to, that jive, about, oh man, Trump talking about segregating blacks again. Man, we all need to say in one voice, I wish you would. Segregation would be our ally. That would be our ally. Because we know, anybody with some sense know integration is our enemy. That's a fact, so. Yeah, that's something they did, man. They saw our greatness. And again, they know about it better than a lot of us. They know what we're capable of better than a lot of us do. That's some messed up shit. You know what I mean? But again, this is why we see, or why we have the distractions we have. Because they know it's best for them to have us distracted rather than having us focused. They would lose. We said this on this channel a week or so ago. We would take over this country unintentionally. Because that ain't really how we gonna get at. We just don't, we different. We different. We might be, some of us want some white slaves. I don't know. I know I don't. But you get time to be trying to run nobody, man. That's too much more work. Go on, do you, man. Leave me the fuck alone. You know what I mean? But yeah, you know, we know this, man. That's a fact. That would not happen, not in this lifetime anyway. You know. Okay, not in this lifetime. All right, Frank Needy said, man, what about the judge that gave the Korean lady that killed Latasha Harlins? You know, look, again, a lot of them people are here to do their dirty work. You know, this, you know, it is what it is, man. In that respect, is that they allow immigrants to come in. They allow it so that they can place them above us. You know, and as they do that, that means then they there's a ceiling, you know, not just one, but maybe two or three that is put in place to keep us from rising, especially as a unit. You know what I mean? Them people, they come here for that purpose. They come here, most of them with nothing. You know, they come over here with nothing. They're told that we're nothing, and they run with that. You know. While at the same time they're being told we're nothing, don't trust the blacks, da 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 da. You know, they're giving stipends, they're giving assistance. They're, you know, what I mean, we're going to help set you up a business, da 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 da. You know. So in terms of that Korean lady, you know, she was there, and I'm pretty sure she understood her position. She had no fear of taking that young sister's life and going to do prison time. None. Didn't even dawn on her. And I bet the whole time she was being convinced, being told, you won't spend a day in jail. Don't worry. Don't worry. You know? It's the system at work, man. That's how it's designed, you know? That's how it's designed. Farad said, man, slavery was once an agreement between two entities on set terms that were called indentured slavery. You work my land for 7 years, and upon completion, I give you the means to establish your own. It built self-sufficiency. At least that's what they say. All right. Now, you're right. Indentured servants were ex-cons, you know, shit like that. When the colonies were established, they sent them over from Britain. They would do 3 to 5 years, you know, as an indentured servant, and after that, they would be, you know, released. I don't know if they gave them anything as a result. You know, go get you some. I don't know. But what came to be a fact was that they couldn't handle that shit. You know. And that's why that didn't last long. And or the realization that, okay, we got our brothers, Europeans, as our indentured slaves, anywhere from 3, 5 to 7 years. You know, they ain't worth a damn in the fields, you know. Brought in the brothers, tried the Indians, you know. Tried the Irish and, you know, other Europeans, didn't work. Brought in the brothers, saw, oh shit, there's a whole lot of energy, you know. In the process, though, they released the indentured servants, but they did it. It was an ulterior motive for that shit, you know. This is where they begin to divide and conquer, you know. Let them know, hey, man, we gonna release y'all. Y'all ain't them. We got to keep these over here, slaves, you know. I don't know if it did anything for those economically, you know, because I don't think a lot of them actually own slaves, you know, but they were just taught or conditioned to hate them, something that they were before our people got here, you know, some, you know, that got here and or was already here, you know. So, you know, that thing, man, it served its purpose, man. Yeah, they tried Europeans first. They tried so-called Indians first, you know. That's what they did. And most of those initial indentured servants were criminals, undesirables, shit like that. Britain sent them over. The UK sent them over on the ship. Hey, man, get the hell out of here. If I remember correctly, some came over on the Mayflower, in other ways, but hey, to me, a slave is a slave, man, and I think that for a lot of them people, I think still the mentality was different, because if you look at it now, if we're going to say that being an indentured servant or slave creates or helps to build self sufficiency, then I think it must have failed a lot of them, because a lot of them, they end up being what we call poor white trash, hillbillies and shit. They didn't amount to a damn thing, other than slave catchers, night riders. Other than that, they wasn't worth spit. I would just say the majority, the majority. But our people, got something totally different from the experience, and it showed in a matter of a couple of decades or a few decades after, the so-called Emancipation Proclamation. There was proof in the pudding that these were creative, that our ancestors were creative, innovative, productive, very skilled people. And I would like to add that they were that before they became enslaved, Can't say the same for those indentured people. A lot of them came from squalor, poverty, shit like that. Our people, I'm willing to wager, those that were actually brought over here didn't come from poverty. That wasn't, they weren't what you see on UNICEF, starving, flies up. Nah, man. Nah, I think there's a difference there. I think there's a big difference there, Farrah going to say, man, in modern terms, you could call that a form of employment. Well, slave or not, or whatever term we use, employed or slave, shit, you still working. Nowadays, even, if there are any of us who don't want to be labeled that or resent the fact that, when you look, on the face of it, that you're actually, a slave for a corporation or a company, nowadays they pay you a little something. But it's nothing in terms of what the company that you work for makes. Nothing, not even. And that's what all the employees combine. You know what I mean? So, in my perspective, in terms of how I view it, that's slavery. It's slavery. You know what I mean? The pay is not tantamount or equal to the work. Your pennies on the dollar. Every hour, that type of shit. Yeah, that's slavery, man. Shit. Only thing that they ain't got to do, they don't have to house you or feed you. You're going to do that with that check. So that means your money is even less than, I don't know, man. I see it as a cold game, a cold slave game. That's me, Frank Nitty said, man, probation, my bad. What you talking about, Frank Nitty? Oh, yeah, they did give her probation, but what is that, And sister's life is, it was took. Henry Gisello said, man, that's what the Minster said, that they are afraid that if we were to switch positions and the tables were turned around, we would treat them like they have treated us in history to modern day time. And I think that, there may be a lot of us that would look at it that way. They're like, okay, man, I'm going to give you back what you gave my people, what I've been going through. and then what my people went through before me and before them. You don't get that back. I'm pretty sure there are a whole lot of us that think like that. They say it's up to over 50 million of us. I'd say, man, maybe half of them feel that way. Who knows? And in some respects, yeah, it should give them pause. It should give them pause. It should make them think. You know? It should make them think, man. You know? So, hey, I'm not one that would do it. I don't want, look, man, won't be no Nat Turner moment fucking with me up in my house, sneaking up in my big house, trying to machete me. You know, ain't gonna happen. You know, I don't need you around me. I'm just saying. Fat Rat said, man, this enemy corrupts all he touches. But indentured slavery went back to Abraham. Okay. Henry Cedello said they said that they treated the slaves like a disdain, like a distant, I guess you're saying, a distant relative, according to the history Tariq Nasheed shared in his documentary, Hidden Colors. American slavery was evil by our oppressors. Excuse me, everybody. That say real talk, Henry. Henry, real talk. All right. Snipe says, man, have y'all seen them walls down in South America have y'all seen them walls down in South America? We were already here. Yeah, man, I did some research on that, man, not too long ago. But I think that, well, I told myself I wasn't going to use AI for that type of research because I think AI is coded to say certain things. There's a certain algorithm that it is encoded with to not give. It would only give the viewpoint or the historical viewpoint or so-called evidence of the Westerner, those that were in power. It won't get, you have to like wrestle with it for it to go and dig. And it give it to you. It'll give you the contradiction, so to speak. There's a lot of history being whitewashed or erased. And again, in their eyes for good cause. In their minds for good cause. I don't know, man. They say we built the Great Wall of China. I don't think I would doubt it. I don't know if I readily accept it. I need to get some, material on that. But that's what they say, That's what they say. But you say, what's on this wall? Where about in South America? Because I want to go look at that. Fat Rat said, man, the duress is driven from a different angle today. Debt is slavery. So systematically, the employee has to keep pace with debt. I'm like, yeah, right. And I don't know. I'm like, look, man, the same way you put that in my mind, immediately go to, let's go back to, think back to actually, them times in terms of slavery. The master in his household, his crops, all that had to be done a certain way, or else he would be in debt, And yeah, I don't know, man. I say this, man. I say that the system, and you mentioned that, is what creates slavery. And it could be the financial system. It could be a political. It could be. There are a lot of different systems that can play or have a role in enslaving people, man. Fat Rat, you just mentioned Abraham had indentured servants, or there were indentured servants back then, in the time of Abraham or whatever. Okay. What was the system? Why? Why? And why was it thought to be okay. I'm just, I'm just asking, not necessarily looking for a debate, but I'm just asking, and this is one of the reasons why. So when it comes to history, man, I'm very cautious about not only about what I'm told, but what I read, because I know for a fact I wasn't there. I didn't hear it. It wasn't from them lips to my ears. You know what I mean? I didn't write it. You know what I mean? So in that respect, I much of what, is said, you take with a grain of salt, I tend to use, common sense in a lot of ways, not necessarily meaning that would bring me to the conclusion of a yay or nay, a surety, but then there's science, shit like that, man, that plays roles in this shit. But when it comes to people reciting history, I have issues with that, I have issues with that. And frankly, we all should, especially when things have been rewritten, manipulated, erased, removed, from the histories. I have issues with that. That's just me. But, for the most part, I get it, I get it. And when I get it, I'll be okay, man. How does this make sense to me? How does this jive with me? And it's, it's something that works for me. Put it like that. It's something that works for me. So, let me go back. Anyway, you said the duress is driven from a different angle today. That is slavery. So systematically, the employee has to keep pace with debt. And for real, that's impossible. That's impossible. Especially when you don't control inflation and things of that nature. You're really at the mercy of those who empower, of those who have everything, But I get your point. You say hardball, bub. Yeah, slavery. Henry said, my bad, man. Minister was the correct spelling, brother Bub. All right. Who Snipes said, man, listen, it tells the lie first. It tells the lie first. Okay. Or we did tell the lie first. You lost me on that one, I have to admit. Farrah said, well, historically, humans have excelled at various paces, bub. We don't all figure it out at the same pace. So when the youngin doing double ups for 5 years and I go, no Bennett, LOL. I'm just saying. Yeah. Well, yeah. We do develop differently, at our own pace in some instances. Bo Bennett. You said no Bennett. Bo Bennett. Yeah. Okay, I got another one for us, y'all. Got another one. At this white guy, right? And some of you probably have seen him or heard him. I'm still trying to, I'm trying to catch his angle, try to get what's his angle. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical about a lot of them. What's the real reason? A lot of them will actually go into this thing where they'll speak truth to power about a lot of shit, but there's an ulterior motive. It could be financial. I think a lot of them do that for that reason. And it's like, like, hey man, I don't give a fuck about this race shit, but I'm finna get this paper. How can I get it? Oh, let me tell the blacks, or let me speak up, or in defense of, let me check whites and shoot. And you gotta know that's gonna garner him a great following. Then that goes in, books, documentaries, and shit like that. Money starts to flow. So I think that in a lot of instances, a lot of them who do what we might deem to be done in our favor may have an ulterior motive that really serves them. I mean, yeah, there is some benefit in it, and not necessarily per se for us. It could be for someone else who is learning something, But I tell you, man, I always look at those type of people, with a sideward glance, it'd be kind of skewed, be like, yeah, all right, yeah, what's really going on, But this guy, I've heard him a lot, as well as the other professor, the white woman, the old white woman. I forgot her name right now. I listen to a lot of shit she do as well. I admit that. But check this guy out. All right. He hip too. He be talking that shit. There you go. All right. Let's play him right quick.
Was rigged. See, we would have known that the system was rigged. See, we would have known that the system was a scam, that it was a fraud, that it was a hoax. And maybe then we could have joined in solidarity with people of color to change that system rather than falling for the divide and conquer. Because the divide and conquer now, it's not just that it takes people away from recognizing their class interest, which obviously is no great shakes to them. They don't really think about that, right? It's not just that. It's that identifying with whiteness and the expectationalism that comes with it is literally killing folks because they don't have the coping skills to deal with setback. It's something James Baldwin wrote about, and I did quote him last time, same quote, but I will do it again because this is satisfaction, not what I said. This is the Mick Jagger moment whenever I quote James Baldwin. This is what Baldwin said. He was writing about Black folks and the ability of people of color to overcome obstacles and the inability sometimes of the dominant group to do it. He said the following. He said, I don't mean to romanticize suffering, but that person who can never suffer can never grow up. That man who has to snatch his manhood out of the fires of human cruelty that rage to destroy it every day, learns something about himself in the process that no school and no church on earth can teach. And that is a sense of his own authority. And that is unshakable because in order to save his life, he has to constantly figure out the meaning behind the words. When a person is constantly having to survive the worst that life can bring, they cease to be afraid of the worst that life can bring. See, folks of color ain't scared in this country right now. Are they concerned? Yes. Are they disturbed? Yes. But are they afraid? Absolutely, they are not, because they have seen this movie before, right? And they know that that movie doesn't end until we say that it ends. And if you haven't had a chance to go to that museum in DC, please do it. It will restore you. Right? You will see the images. You will see Nat Turner's Bible. You will see Emmett Till's original casket. You will see the images of all those who came before this administration and tried to destroy the spark of liberty and freedom and justice that has always burned in Black and brown folks' breasts and souls and minds and have failed to do so. And like I said, if you come out of there and you still worried about this moment and this man and this presidency, you need to go back through again and pay a little bit closer attention. Because at the end of the day, we're the ones who will make America great. Not again, but for the very first time. Thank you all so much for being here. We would have known that the system.
What did I say, man? We have to get past this where we looking at, we being distracted with bullshit. We got work to do, you know? We got work to do. All right, Fat Rat, you up on him, huh? Who was Snipes in my bad? You were talking about asking AI questions. That's what I was talking about. Okay, yeah. I was just saying, basically, you got to play games with AI, man. You got to play word games, and you got to put your thoughts in sentences correctly. You know what I mean? You got to know what you're asking. You have to know what you're asking. Don't ask it to ask something for you, you know, and then answer it too. You know what I mean? You got to know exactly what you're pulling or what you're trying to pull from it. And when you do that, in most cases, it'll play games with you still. I didn't cuss a lot of them out. I swear. It should be funny. Shit. Fat Rat said, oh, yes, sir, bub. Tim Wise. I've been shadowing Black consciousness for decades. The lady name just damn near came out of my mouth when you said that, Fat Rat. As I was reading what you wrote. I don't know why I keep getting Jane Goodall, and that ain't her. You know what I mean? But I forget her name, man. Old white lady, man, white hair, wear glasses. Tight. She tight too. You know what I mean? But they're the only two I actually listen to, other than the Muslim brother who was just speaking earlier with the beard, the white beard, the bald head, and glasses. I listen to him quite a bit as well. But yeah, so there is that, man. There are those people for whatever reason, man. And again, I don't know what the true meaning of why they do what they do. I don't know. But, you know, sometimes I'm just skeptical like that, you know. But let me hit you with this one, because this was also, he just said something I thought was tight. You know, like, man, you can't do nothing to us that you haven't already done. You know, you done bombed us, burned us, castrated us, decapitated us, man. What else can you possibly do? You've raped us. You've done all kind of shit. Made us all kind of shit, man. All right. I mean, what else is there? Not a damn thing. Oh, here you go. No, that ain't it. That ain't it. I'm trying to find this One Piece. Pretty good. I enjoyed it. Okay, I'm not gonna find it here, so I'm not gonna go searching too long. It should be close though. Damn. Let's fuck up, man. I thought I had to. Okay. All right, not you, sister. No disrespect, but not you. We're looking for that. All right, I'll find it sooner rather than later. Hate that shit. Oh, that's nice. I like that. All right, let me get back to that. Yeah, so you know, when you think about it, man, there's a lot. This is how I see shit, right? There's a lot that other people know just from observation of us, you know, about us, you know, and yet these same people, man, they tend to want to hoard that information, that knowledge for themselves. They don't share it, which is what I think they should do, especially with their own kind, you know, which would, if they did that often enough, it would eliminate a lot of bullshit. You know what I'm saying? But for those who know what they know about us and still, or yet and still go about orchestrating not just havoc and chaos in our lives, but orchestrating oppression, you know, racism, you know, racist, you know, mentalities and actions and shit. Those that continue to push white supremacy, shit like that. When you got people like that, man, you got to realize something, man. There's something wrong with that individual, you know, or those individuals. We've been led to believe that because of what they say, there's something wrong with us, you know, and I'm pretty sure that that's some bullshit, you know. Nothing's wrong with us. Again, just using for instance, we come out of that situation, chattel slavery, man, and within a couple of decades, We running our own show. That's some powerful shit. But if we allow or let those who are in power control tell it, we ain't shit. And let them tell it in such a way or say enough, loud enough, often enough, we even tend to believe that shit. Or we tend to believe that shit. Not just us, but everybody else who's listening. You know? So, I don't know, man. For me, when we have these type of people who think they know what they know about us, man, those are the people I'm more skeptical of, you know? I'm more mindful of in terms of, okay, man, again, what's your game? You know? What's your game? What is it that you're really up to? You know? I don't know. I just had that habit of doing that, you know? Oh, yeah. This is a good one. I knew I was going to find something. Hold on. And this is I got one for y'all. I got one for you. Damn, man, I just had the mom. Okay, let's try this one. It might be in here. 1 second, everybody. Wait a minute. That's crazy. Oh, okay, my bad. Here you go. One second, y'all. There you go. Now check this one out. All right, hold on. Let me bring it in.
Did you know melanin is more than just pigment? It's protection, it's resilience, it's power. Melanin is the natural shield in darker skin that protects against harsh ultraviolet radiation. For thousands of years, in the hottest regions on Earth, it allowed African civilizations to thrive under extreme sun, where others struggled. But it doesn't stop there. Melanin is linked to stronger resistance against certain environmental stressors. It helps preserve skin integrity. It slows visible aging. It enhances natural glow. That deep brown richness, that golden undertone, that radiant shine under sunlight, that's biology working at its highest level. And beyond the physical, melanin became identity. Across continents, it carried culture, lineage, and royalty. From queens in Nubia to scholars in Timbuktu to warriors in Dahomey, melanin wasn't weakness. It was adaptation. It was evolution. It was strength. What some tried to diminish was actually advanced design. Melanin isn't just color. It's legacy written into skin. Still watching? Comment power and follow for more history that stands tall. Did you know melanin is more than just pigment? It's protection. It's resilience.
All right. That's enough. All right. Yeah. I don't know. I love that one, man. All right. Now, here go one. I found this one kind of hard to digest, man, and we don't got a lot of time. I'm going to play this one. I didn't want to originally. I mean, I looked at it for myself and I was like, all right, man, I might play this one. But check this out. Check this one out. Go shit.
Is that Lincoln freed the slaves, but Lincoln says in 1860 and 1861, it is a lie and a slander that we have any intention to abolish slavery in the slave colonies of the South. in the slave states of the South. This is just a lie, he says. So why does it happen? Well, it happens because, as W.E.B. Du Bois puts it in his great book, Black Reconstruction from 1935, the slaves took matters into their own hands.
Look, still out here grinding, trying to make a living off of pimping like assignment. Man made law, small things, sentences. Hammer hard, the men coming up. So what the media teaching you, all times they reaching you. Don't believe that bullshit, I'd rather believe in us. But they got.
All right. I didn't too much like that, man. But it was the first part of what he said, man, in terms of how our people look at shit and how we go about doing things. All right. And again, that's our resilience. That's us taking matters into our own hands. I've been new, especially when they tell this lie about Abraham Lincoln. You know, I just look at people like, fuck, you know, it's ignorant as fuck, you know. I've been new that the so-called proclamation, Emancipation Proclamation, whatever, that was just a speech. It had nothing really to do with actually freeing slaves, you know, just something they said, you know. It's just a proclamation. It had no real authority because it wasn't really in paper, you know, like that. And so my thinking is that never happened. It didn't. It just, you know, we've been given this semblance of it happening. Right? We just been given this idea that it occurred, that, oh, we're free now. You know, in reality, we were just talking about this, how it has metastasized. Slavery from back then as to right now, you know, it's still it's slavery, but it's now, and it's more subtle. It's not what, you know, our ancestors went through or the stories we hear. You know what I mean? And not just slavery, but everything that came with it, you know, everything that made it so atrocious, you know, and immoral, you know what I mean? It never ended. It never ended, man. You know, it's in effect today, 2026. Slavery still exists. And you can call it employment, you call it what you want. But slavery still exists, and not just in this country, but anywhere that it thrived, you know what I mean? In fact, now all over the world, you know, we call it, or some people call it having a job, you know, but most of us are made to work to make sure that the master stays rich. You know, and in fact, it's a coercion. It's almost like being forced to work because they've taken control of everything. And if you don't work, guess what? You don't eat. You don't have a roof over your head. You don't have water to drink. You have shoes on your feet. You can't go see your relatives, your family 10, 50, 30, 100 miles away, not on feet. We can call it what we want. But if we begin to just look at it, man, just head on, it is what it is. It still is that. It still is that. We have masters that we work for. And I don't care how many pennies on the dollar they give us. It's still what it is. It never went away, man. You know, it just never went away. You know, that's all I'm trying to stress. You know. You know, so I don't know, man. There's a lot, dude. I had a clip, man, and I'll tell you this thing about TikTok. I have it sitting there, and I go back to get it, and boom, it's gone. You know, I'm like, all right, man, fuck it. Oh, here go one. And I like this sister too. I mess with her. Hold on, let me bring this in here. To my point. Thank you, sister. Never had. Oh shit, my
If we
bad,
don't
y'all.
gather in secret
All right,
meetings,
let me go back.
even if we are quiet, we know they're not revamping the
Sorry
Constitution,
about that,
they're
everybody.
repackaging slavery. When I recently said that I expected debate, what I didn't expect was the arrogance, people in my comments acting like this was a reach, like we are paranoid or weak. And maybe that's because somewhere in the message, they thought we were folding. But let me be very clear. We're not folding. We've never folded,
Never had.
not in 400 years. What's happening right now may be upsetting. It may even be disappointing, but it is not new. And it is not frightening in the way they think.
That's right.
Because for many of us, Black people and people of color, we already know what time it is.
We know the
Even
deal.
if we don't say it aloud, even if we don't gather in secret meetings.
That's the part I was saying. We know what it is. So when we get all these people coming out of the woodwork, these other ethnicities and demographics talking this shit, ninja this, ninja that, black, you know, man, we know that shit. All we need to know is that once they have become bold enough, so bold to where they'll say it, and we ain't got to stop and respond. Now you on the list. Now we pivot from them to you. In fact, we just keep this thing going. You know what I mean? We know what it is, man. And there's no sense in us acting like, oh, this is some new shit. Oh, them too? Always been them too. It has always been them too. That's nothing new, man. It has always been them too. The Asians, the Mexicans, the Latinos, the Hispanic, you know, the whites, the Jewish, the Indians. It has always been them too, man. It's nothing new to us, man. And then I say, we waste time when, you know, okay, we heard what said, okay, and then but now we want to confront it. What the fuck, for? Why are we doing this back and forth with them? Nah, man. Let's get on our game. Let's get on our game. That's all we got to do, man. That's what they're hoping we don't do. This is why we see this or hear this bullshit and we entertain it. Fuck that, man. We've been knowing this shit a very, very, very long time, man. No need to entertain that shit.
Even if we are quiet, we know what we are prepared to do.
There you go.
And no law, no policy, no bill passed in the dead of night will change that. The Constitution of the United States was not written with us in mind.
Thank you.
It was built on the foundation of white supremacy by men who owned slaves, by men who wrote freedom into law while keeping human beings in chains. Sure, amendments came later, the 13th, the 14th, the 15th, but every one of those came with loopholes, came with conditions, came with systems in place to keep us locked out, locked up, or locked down. Even now, we see it. The 13th Amendment didn't abolish slavery. It redefined it. It gave them the right to enslave anyone as punishment for a crime. That's how we got mass incarceration. That's how we got for-profit prisons. That's how we got children in cages and entire generations of Black families torn apart by policy. The same Constitution that's supposed to protect due process has never protected us. Ask the mothers whose sons were shot dead without a trial. Ask the Black women dragged from their cars and never making it home. Due process wasn't there. The Constitution wasn't there. Freedom wasn't there because it was never meant for us. The police who enforce it, they didn't start as public servants. They started as slave patrols. Their mission was to track, monitor, and capture Black people. And that mission hasn't changed. They just took off the hoods and put on badges. They infiltrated departments.
Look like her eyebrows are jumping. It might be AI generated. I don't know. I'm looking at her eyebrows, man. I don't like that.
Formed unions and protected each other with silence and power. So when I speak about the policies today, the big, beautiful bill, the threats to birthright citizenship, the concentration camps, they're quietly building. I'm not exaggerating. I'm calling it what it is. A strategic attempt to reintroduce control over people who fought too hard, risen too far, and earned too much power. But let's be clear, it's not just about Black people. Yes, we are the primary targets.
Absolutely.
But the policies that cut Medicaid, that slash public schools, that attack food access and housing, those things hurt everybody, white people included. So when far-right extremists start cheering, clapping, thinking they've won, I need them to understand something. Your children are going to be just as hungry. Your elderly are going to suffer too. And when you finally realize that white supremacy doesn't pay the bills, it'll be too late. And to white women who've aligned themselves for decades with the very power that oppresses them, understand this: you were never free either. You were just told you were better than us, but you weren't safe. You weren't equal. You were beaten too. You were silenced too. You still make less money. You still have to fight for bodily autonomy. Aligning with white patriarchy,
Abortion,
has only kept you in proximity to power, but never in possession of it. And that's the lie we've all been sold, that some of us are better off under the system if we just stay quiet, stay docile, stay grateful. But we've never been docile,
y'all.
And we've never been grateful for scraps. Everything we have, we built. Not because the Constitution gave it to us, not because white America handed it over. We took it. We fought for it. We bled for it. Affirmative action, we got 5% of the benefits. Everybody else got the rest. Man. Civil rights, we marched, and all the others, collected the rewards. We made a way out of no way, while others walked through the doors we kicked open. So when I said they're trying to reintroduce slavery through policy, it wasn't a metaphor. It was a warning. Yeah. Because they're not just coming for Black people. They are coming for anyone who isn't white, rich, Christian, male, and obedient.
Let me interject. And that don't even matter anymore. You can be white, male, and Christian. That don't fucking matter. If they can enslave you, they will enslave you. And at the same time, they'll keep telling you, fight the Black man. That's your enemy. While at the same time, they knocking them down too. They putting them in the same boat as us. So you can be white as fucking snow. If you're poor, they ain't getting you nowhere. You're not getting through that door.
They are afraid. This is white desperation. They see that they are being outnumbered, not just by race, but by truth, by progress, by justice. And like all dying empires, they are getting dangerous.
Yeah.
But they forget something. Our ancestors never had a blueprint. They didn't have group chats. They didn't have military training. They didn't have social media. But they resisted. They survived. They rebelled. And they won. Because when the moment came, they didn't fold. And neither will we. We don't need to plan in the shadows. When the time comes, we'll move like we've always moved, with clarity, with conviction, and with the fire of generations behind us. So let me say this to the extremists, the racists, the lawmakers drafting these bills. If it's war you want, then don't be surprised when it finds you. Because we're not just fighting for equality anymore. We're fighting to be unbothered, to be left alone, to raise our kids without fear, to exist without having to prove our humanity. You keep talking about revolution like it's hypothetical. We've been in the revolution. The only question is when the rest of the world will realize it. And to every so-called ally sitting quietly on the sidelines, let me be crystal clear. Silence is betrayal.
Hello.
If you call yourself an ally, now is the time to speak, to act, to risk something. Because this isn't just about Black liberation. This is about global survival. This is about dismantling white supremacy before it dismantles all of us. And if that makes you uncomfortable, good. Revolution is never comfortable.
Yeah.
But it is necessary. Because this is not just about policies and politics. This is about power. This is about freedom. And this is about time. It's time. They are not revamping the Constitution.
All right. I feel good, man. I can't speak for nobody else, but hey, that just brings such joy and inspiration to me, I have to say. My words exactly. You know, it's beautiful, man, to hear our people speak, man, truth to power. You know what I'm saying? We were just talking about these very issues, you know, especially slavery, you know, whether or not it is what it is, you know, or it has it metastasized, has it changed? Is it different now? Is it a little more low key? The fact of the matter is that it still is, you know what I mean? It's here, you know, it's here. And it's here in so many forms, fashions, and ways that a lot of us are not even aware of it. It comes in religion. It comes in money, you know? You know? It comes through politics. It comes through society. All these things, you know, can enslave us, you know? And if it does it well enough, good enough, it can enslave us in such a way where we fold. We fold. You know, I'm just of the mind that black people don't fold, man. You know, we're gonna fight it out. Fuck it. You know, we've been saying the last few nights, hey man, no sacrifice, no victory. And we have to really come to terms with what that is, individually, especially. You know, because what I say should not motivate, you know, what I eat don't make you shit. You know what I mean? I get that. But hey, man, at some point, individually, we're going to have to come to that space where we look shit in the face, man. And then and there, we decide. We choose, you know? And based on that, we'll know, you know what I mean? Because that thing, that spark, that whatever it is that propels you, you know, that motivates, inspires you to act, will be recognized, will be known. That's all I'm saying. We living in the times, man, where I'm telling y'all, man, the shit is all bad. You know, I mean, the shit is super bad, man. But a lot of us don't get that yet. We have a lot of distractions in front of us, so we don't see that yet. All right. Yeah. Anyway, Henry, man, good to see you here. Like I said, man, real talk, man. That was deep. Cash Money, y'all. That remind me of OJ song. For love money. All right, Cash Money, good to see you up in here, bro. Better late than never, as they say. You know what I mean? Who snipe facts? Cash Money say greetings, family of the RGC, big bro, and the Constitution is real. Big bro, the Constitution is real. We have to take the blinders off. I wonder what the hell you mean by that. The Constitution is real for who? Ah, shit. For who? Yeah, I think that's a legitimate question. The Constitution is real for who? Now, either we take the blinders off or we remove the lens that we're looking through. And most of the time, those lenses that we look through belong to them people. So, yeah, that could be a blinder also. But the Constitution is real. The con is real. You better believe it. The Constitution? Anyway. Hey, man, that's how that's going to go, man. Listen. This thing real, man. I'm going to tell you something. I'm when, you know, people are asked, I think often enough, I don't know about you guys, but I've been asked before, do I have any regrets? You know, I'll be 62 next month. And I'm asked, man, do I have any regrets? There have been times I said no, and there have been times where I said I don't know. Got to think about that. And there have been times where I said, yeah. I just had a thought, man, and it affected me in such a way to where, damn, I regret that I wasn't who I am now back then. But at the same time, I realized that it wasn't meant to be then. You know what I mean? It's meant to be right now. So that regret, I don't know if it's just an emotional thing or something. I don't know. What I do know is that my spirit, my soul tells me, okay, I'm in the moment. I'm where I'm supposed to be. And if that's the case, then regrets don't matter. You know what I mean? They don't matter. Do I have regrets? In spite of what I just said, yeah, there are some I have. You know what I mean? But it's too late for me to, do anything about it. I have all kind of regrets, about all kind of things. You know what I mean? But I'm okay. I'm okay with the space I'm in. And I think that it's not about me making up or catching up. What happened. How I lived my life back then led me to where I am now. So I can't too much focus on that and be in this mind or this mind state where I want to regret everything that I've done or been through, or put someone through, I have to accept that, man, here I am, man, and it's all good. It's all good, man. So if I was to change anything, then could I say that right now? If I change anything in terms of, would I be who I am now? I don't know. I don't think so. So regrets is something I'm just share with me. I'll deal with internal. I am okay with who I am today. In fact, I know I'm a better man based upon, or everything I went through, man, lined me up for right now, for today, and everything I'm talking about, we did. So I'm cool. I love the fact that I am who I am right now. Right. Right now. I love me. All right, Cash Money. He said it's a con, y'all. Sam Evans said, man, it's growth, big bub. Yeah. And like I say, damn, when you say that again, I went back like, damn, I wish I could have grown up a long time ago. Wasn't meant to be though, But appreciate that, bro. I hear you. Real talk. Henry say, man, I think we all can relate in some way or another, brother Bub. Real spit, man. We all have those experiences. We've all been through something. In fact, if we're all here today, that means we went through something to get to this point right here. They say, man, you got to go through something to get to something. I made it. Probably got a little further to go, though, so I'm game. All right. Ooh-wah. All right, bro. All love. Hindsight is 2020. That's an old one. No doubt about that, Chris. All right, man, listen, I'm finna find this outro, man. Waiting on brother-in-law, man, to come back from out of town, man. He taking his sweet time because I need him to do my AI video, man, to hook this thing up proper. Yeah, man, he being funny, but that's okay. All right, let me drop this thing up in here, man. Let's get to this. Get down. All right, hold on. All right.
breaking. Lift your brother, lift your sister, lift your people, lift each other. No more hate, no more division. It's time for healing, it's time for vision. Imagine the future where the children feel safe, where every young king understands his place, where every young queen knows the worth and power, where unity grows stronger every hour. Imagine neighborhoods building businesses again, families creating wealth instead of visiting pens. Imagine fathers at home teaching sons how to lead, and mothers being honored for the lives that they see. Imagine elders respected every place they go, passing down wisdom only experience can know. Imagine black people standing together once more, not perfect, but united at the core. That's the dream, not destruction, not division, but healing, building, growing, living. Because our story ain't over, and our greatest chapter can still be written. Wake up, black people. The future calling. Wake up, black people. Wake up, black people. The ancestors watching. Pop. Protect our women, protect our children, protect our elders. Let's rebuild our village. Wake up, wake up, black people. Stand up, black people. Wake up, rise up, black people. Wake up, before it's too late.
All right, man, we're gonna cut it right there, man. I appreciate everybody's presence tonight, man. Listen, you know how I go, man. Take care of yourselves, man, in the realest way, man. And I'm telling you, that care, that type of love for self, man, will spill over. And brothers and sisters, man, we'll get a bar of that. Love yourself, all right? Love yourself, man. And you'll know what the end result of that would be, what it looked like, and what it bring to the table, man. All love, all right? And respect. Power is in the people, all right? No matter what we're told, what we've been told, some of us believe the wrong things. You know, we tend to think, you know, in terms of what's been told to us. Power is in us. Power is in the people, all right? You are, you have been, and you will be under the groove, man. See y'all on the next one.